Hello. You didn't think we could have an Ignite on May the 4th without talking about some Star Wars, right? So happy Star Wars Day, and I'm excited to geek out with you all a little bit tonight. So it's no surprise that in the Star Wars universe, there's thousands of characters, right? And we're familiar with a handful of them. We have Luke and Leia and Han. But we don't really get to know some of the background characters, some of the side characters. And while we know the fates of our main heroes, spoiler alert, most of them die, we don't really know what happens to some of those other smaller characters. So, where are they now? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, to start, this is a character we're all pretty familiar with, Jar Jar Binks, the comic relief in the prequel movies. Well, he's kind of an outcast. He slowly starts to join some of our heroes on some of their adventures. Well, during the Clone Wars, he has some adventures of his own. He ends up having a romance with Queen Julia of Bardada, and it goes not so great, as you can probably imagine. But during this whole time, he's an elected representative to the Senate, and that's where he proposes emergency powers that ultimately destroy the Republic, create the Empire, and allow a Sith Lord to take over the galaxy. But where is he now? Well, he's literally an outcast again, and he's a clown on the streets of Naboo, juggling, dancing, talking to kids on the street. So a fitting end for a disgraced politician? So you might not recognize this character from the movies, but hopefully you recognize the actress, one of our favorite Golden Girls, Bea Arthur. So she plays Ameena, the bartender, in the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special. Now, she's most known for singing the song Good Night, But Not Goodbye. Yes, there are several musical numbers in the Star Wars Holiday Special. But what happens to her after? Where is she now? Well, her and her wife go into real estate. They rent a room underneath the cantina to two of their patrons, Muftak and Cabe here. But about 40 years after the holiday special, she ends up joining an organization called the Freedom Flight, which their mission is to end slavery across the galaxy. So I think Bea Arthur would be pretty proud of where she ends up. So we have a character here that's the only character to have survived 2 attacks on the Death Star, Wedge Antilles. He fought alongside Luke Skywalker against the first Death Star and with Lando Calrissian against the second Death Star. But little known fact, he actually started his career as an Imperial Navy TIE fighter pilot before he defected and went over to the Rebellion. But where is he now? Where did he end up? Well, he ended up meeting a woman named Nora, and they had a marriage, and he became the stepfather to this character that we see in the sequel trilogy, Temmin Snap Wexley. Unfortunately, he doesn't make it. He dies at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. But eagle-eyed fans will also spot good old Wedge back in action, also at the Battle of Exegol at the end of the last movie, fighting alongside his old friend Lando Calrissian. Now, this is a scene that we're probably all very familiar with, the infamous scene where Han and Leia spark their romance with such words as, "I just as soon kiss a Wookiee," and "I can arrange that, you could use a good kiss." But what about this poor guy in the middle that has to walk through them? So this is Chase Wilser. He's a cook and a supply runner on Echo Base. So what the hell happened to him? Where is he now? Well, he ended up developing a crush on a Tauntaun trainer named Jordan Smith. And when the rebels got attacked on Hoth, he bravely went back into the crumbling base, saved Jordan and their favorite Tauntaun Sunshine. And they escaped on the rebel transport ship, the Bright Hope, where Chase very romantically quoted Han Solo and said, "I could use a good kiss." So I choose to believe that they lived happily ever after. So there you have it, some of my favorite Where Are They Now stories from Star Wars. So happy Star Wars Day, and may the 4th be with you.